Famous Hollywood actresses who died young in the 70s to 80s, murdered at 20, drowned in darkness, stalked to death, overdosed in silence, dreams cut mid-sentence, lives lost to something deeper than fame. Stay with this story because behind the spotlight lies a truth Hollywood never wanted you to see. Dorothy Stratton. She walked into Hollywood like something untouched. Then at just 20 was found murdered in a quiet Los Angeles home, her story ending before the world could even understand it. Dorothy Ruth Hoogstraten was born on February 28, 1960 in Vancouver, Canada. She was only 19 when fame found her, and just 20 when she filmed They All Laughed, a moment that would unknowingly become her final chapter. Her childhood was shaped by absence and quiet resilience. Her father left when she was 3, and her mother struggled to raise 3 children on a nurse's income. Dorothy was shy, almost invisible growing up until a chance encounter at a Dairy Queen with Paul Snider altered everything. He saw potential, sent her photos to Playboy without consent, and suddenly the world saw her too. On screen, she carried something rare. As Dolores Martin, her presence felt effortless, soft, luminous, unforced. There was no performance in her acting, only a natural stillness that drew people in as if time itself paused around her. But off-screen, that stillness hid a tightening storm. In August 1980, as she prepared to leave Snider, she returned to speak with him one last time. He tied her up sexually, assaulted her, and killed her with a shotgun before turning the weapon on himself. She was 20. The brutality of it shattered Hollywood. They All Laughed was released after her death transformed into an unintended memorial. Director Peter Bogdanovich, who had fallen in love with her, spent millions trying to preserve her final performance, only to lose everything in the process. Dorothy Stratton never lived to see what she could become. She remains forever suspended at the edge of possibility, a light that appeared suddenly and vanished before it could fully burn. Natalie Wood. She feared dark water her entire life. Yet on a cold November night in 1981, Natalie Wood was found floating lifeless in it, a mystery that still refuses to surface. Natalia Nikolaevna Zakharenko was born on July 20, 1938 in San Francisco to Russian immigrant parents. She was 43 while filming Brainstorm, already a 3-time Oscar nominee and one of Hollywood's most enduring stars. Her life was shaped before she could choose it. Pushed by an ambitious mother chasing her own lost dreams, Natalie was placed in front of cameras at 4. By 8, she was in Miracle on 34th Street. Directors saw brilliance early, but behind it lingered a quiet fear, especially of deep, dark water, a fear some traced back to childhood warnings that never left her. On screen, she carried emotional precision rare for any actor. As Karen Brace, she balanced vulnerability and restraint, portraying a woman caught between distance and longing with a truth that felt almost autobiographical. But reality blurred into something darker. On the night of November 28, 1981, aboard the yacht, splendor tensions rose between her and her husband, Robert Wagner. By morning, she was gone. Her body was found a mile away, bruises on her arms, a dinghy nearby. The official ruling shifted years later to drowning and other undetermined factors. In 2018, Wagner was named a person of interest. No one has ever been charged. Brainstorm was released after her death, her final performance preserved in fragments of a life interrupted. Behind her, she left decades of brilliance, West Side Story, Rebel Without a Cause, a career built on emotional truth. Natalie Wood died at 43, but her story never found its ending. Like the dark water she feared, it remains still reflecting questions no one has ever been able to answer. Jean Harlow. She rose as Hollywood's brightest platinum star, then collapsed at 26, her body failing quietly while the studio system watched, unable or unwilling to save her. Harlean Harlow Carpenter was born on March 3, 1911 in Kansas City, Missouri, into privilege and instability. By 21, during Red-Headed Woman 1932, she had already become a symbol of scandal, desire, and defiance. Her childhood glittered on the surface. An only child raised between luxury homes and a 25-room family estate, she was adored but often abandoned. Her mother's affairs and absences left her drifting between caretakers. At 16, she ran away to marry a wealthy heir, a decision that accidentally brought her to Los Angeles and into the orbit of film studios. On screen, she discovered something electric. Harlow wasn't just beautiful, she was dangerous in a playful way. In Red-Headed Woman, she blended bold sexuality with sharp comedic timing, creating a character both reckless and irresistibly human. But behind that laughter, reality fractured. In 1932, just 2 months after marrying producer Paul Byrne, he was found dead from a gunshot wound, leaving behind a cryptic note. MGM intervened before police shaping the narrative as suicide. Rumors swirled for years, murder cover-ups, secrets buried beneath studio power. Harlow said nothing, and her silence only deepened the myth. Her personal life unraveled in quieter ways. A failed marriage, a hidden pregnancy, and a love with William Powell that never fully materialized. By 1937, her health collapsed. What began as illness turned into kidney failure. Delayed treatment guided by her mother's beliefs sealed her fate. Jean Harlow died on June 7, 1937, at 26. The woman who made the world laugh was gone, but the silence around her life became louder than any role she ever played. Carole Lombard. She flipped a coin to choose a flight one, and within hours, Carole Lombard was dead in a fiery crash, a decision that turned chance into destiny. Jane Alice Peters was born on October 6, 1908 in Fort Wayne, Indiana. By her early 30s, during My Man Godfrey 1936, she had become one of Hollywood's brightest comedic stars, fearless and effortlessly alive on screen. Her journey began almost by accident. After her parents separated, her mother brought her to Los Angeles, where a director spotted her playing baseball in the street. That moment led her to film, but not without cost. Years later, a brutal car crash shattered glass across her face, leaving scars that nearly ended her career before it truly began. Yet Lombard transformed imperfection into power. She developed a rapid, unpredictable comedic rhythm, sharp, daring, and modern. In roles like Irene Bullock, she wasn't just funny, she was electric, balancing chaos with charm in a way few could replicate. Behind the laughter, her life carried its own fractures. Her marriage to Clark Gable was passionate but strained. Rumors of his affair with Lana Turner lingered, and Lombard met the pain with humor that masked something deeper. Still, nothing foreshadowed what came next. In January 1942, after selling war bonds to support World War II efforts, she chose to fly home rather than take the train. The plane crashed into a Nevada mountain, killing everyone on board. She was 33, the first major Hollywood star to die in wartime service. Her death froze her at the height of brilliance. Hollywood mourned Gable shattered, and a nation remembered her as both star and sacrifice. Carole Lombard died at 33, but her story lives in that final choice, a coin in the air, and a life decided before it landed. Sharon Tate. She begged to live long enough to give birth. Yet on a warm August night in 1969, Sharon Tate was murdered in her own home, a tragedy that ended an era. Sharon Marie Tate was born on January 24, 1943, in Dallas, Texas, the daughter of a U.S. Army intelligence officer. She was just 26 when Valley of the Dolls 1967 made her a rising star. Her childhood was marked by constant movement. Before 16, she had lived in 6 different cities, never staying long enough to belong. Shy and often misunderstood, she carried a quiet insecurity that contrasted sharply with the beauty others saw. A local beauty pageant win in Washington and modeling work in Italy slowly opened the door to something larger. On screen, Tate revealed a subtle instinct. As Jennifer North, she portrayed fragility beneath glamour, a woman unraveling behind fame. Critics later noted her natural comedic timing, an untapped talent that hinted at a career only beginning to take shape. But real life turned darker than any script. On the night of August 8, 1969, while 8 months pregnant, she was at home in Los Angeles as members of the Manson family broke in. They killed everyone inside. Tate was last. She pleaded for her unborn child. She was stabbed 16 times. She died hours before what should have been a new beginning. The murders shocked the world not only for their brutality, but for their randomness. None of the victims had any connection to Charles Manson. They were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sharon Tate never saw the life she was building. Her legacy lives not only in film but in the silence that followed her loss, a light extinguished just as it began to shine. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe died alone in Brentwood at 36, surrounded by pills, silence, and questions Hollywood has never been able to bury. Born Norma Jean Mortensen on June 1, 1926 in Los Angeles, she was 35 when she made The Misfits, her final completed film, and perhaps her most painfully honest performance. Her childhood began without safety. Her mother Gladys struggled with severe mental illness, and Norma Jean passed through foster homes, guardians, and an orphanage, growing up with the terror of being unwanted. At 16, she married to avoid returning to state care. Years later, while working in a wartime factory, a photographer's camera found her, and Norma Jean began disappearing into Marilyn Monroe. Her gift was often mistaken for glamour, but Monroe had rare, comic timing, emotional fragility, and an instinct for turning innocence into performance. In Some Like It Hot, she seemed effortless even when the work behind the image nearly broke her. Behind the fame, the fractures deepened. Her marriage to Joe DiMaggio collapsed under jealousy and control. Arthur Miller, the man she believed understood her mind, wounded her in ways fame never could. By 1962, after being fired from Something's Got to Give while rumors around John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy followed her, Monroe became less a woman than a national obsession. On August 4, 1962, she died from a barbiturate overdose, officially ruled a probable suicide. The theories never stopped, but beneath the myths was something simpler and sadder, a woman loved by millions, yet unable to feel held by anyone. Marilyn Monroe died at 36. The girl no one claimed became the face everyone remembered glowing forever just beyond rescue. Jane Mansfield. Jane Mansfield survived childhood tragedy, studio exploitation, and public ridicule, only to die in a car crash so violent it became part of highway history. Born Vera Jane Palmer on April 19, 1933 in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, she was 23 when The Girl Can't Help It turned her into one of Hollywood's most photographed bombshells. Her first wound came early. At 3, she was in the car when her father, a lawyer, suffered a fatal heart attack while driving. Years later, behind the breathless publicity and exaggerated blonde image, Mansfield was far more complex than the joke Hollywood sold: highly intelligent, musically trained, and hungry to be taken seriously. On screen, she understood performance as spectacle. Her gift was not simply beauty, it was timing, confidence, and self-awareness. She could parody desire while pretending not to know she was doing it. But fame became a cage. Compared endlessly to Marilyn Monroe, Mansfield was pushed into louder, cheaper versions of the same fantasy. By the mid-1960s, her film career had faded into nightclub appearances, publicity stunts, and scandal. Her association with Anton LaVey and the so-called curse surrounding her lover Sam Brody only deepened the mythology around her final year. Before dawn on June 29, 1967, Mansfield was riding in a Buick with Brody, their driver, and 3 of her children asleep in the back. The car slammed into the rear of a truck near New Orleans. The 3 adults in front were killed instantly. The children survived. Jane Mansfield died at 34, leaving behind 5 children and a legend larger than her roles. The world remembered the body, the headlines, the crash, but beneath the blonde performance was a woman who knew exactly how much of herself Hollywood refused to see. Rebecca Schaeffer. Rebecca Schaeffer opened her front door on a quiet morning in 1989, and within seconds, a stranger she once acknowledged shot her in the chest, ending a life just beginning. Rebecca Lucille Schaeffer was born on November 6, 1967, in Eugene, Oregon, the only child of a writer and a child psychologist. She was just 21 when my sister Sam made her a familiar face across American television. Her early life was stable, even gentle. Raised in a thoughtful academic household, she was shy, often misread as distant. Modeling seemed like an escape, but at 5 feet 7 inches, she was considered too short for high fashion. A failed attempt in Japan forced her back to New York, where she waited tables and auditioned until a magazine cover quietly changed everything. On screen, she brought an unforced sincerity. As Patty Russell, she embodied a generation's optimism, bright, curious, and self-assured. There was nothing artificial in her presence. It felt lived, not performed. But that visibility came with a cost no one had yet fully understood. For 3 years, a fan named Robert Bardo fixated on her. In July 1989, after paying a private investigator to obtain her address from DMV Records, he appeared at her door. She greeted him, once signed an autograph, and asked him not to return. 30 minutes later, he came back and shot her. She collapsed outside her apartment, asking one question: why she died less than half an hour later on the day she was scheduled to audition for The Godfather Part 3. Rebecca Schaeffer died at 21. Her death reshaped stalking laws across America, but her story remains something quieter and far more haunting: a life built on kindness, answered by a world that didn't yet know how to protect it. Dana Plato. She grew up as America's perfect television daughter, then died at 34 from an overdose, her life unraveling in front of a world that once adored her. Dana Michelle Plato was born on November 7, 1964 in Maywood, California, and adopted shortly after birth. She was just 14 when Different Strokes 1978 made her a household name, placing her at the center of one of television's most beloved families. Her path to fame came early and fast. Raised in the San Fernando Valley, she began modeling as a child and quickly transitioned into acting. There was no singular breakthrough moment, just a steady pull toward the camera, as if the industry had already chosen her before she could choose it back. On screen, she brought warmth and sincerity. As Kimberly Drummond, she felt real kind, grounded, quietly emotional. She wasn't flashy, but she didn't need to be. Her strength was in making normalcy feel comforting. But as she grew older, the image that once protected her began to trap her. In 1984, after becoming pregnant, she was written out of the show. Without the structure of fame, her life began to fracture. Financial struggles, substance abuse, and legal trouble followed, including a 1991 arrest for robbing a video store with a pellet gun. The headlines turned from admiration to spectacle. She tried to rebuild small roles, interviews, moments of honesty, but the damage lingered. In May 1999, just one day after giving a radio interview insisting she was happy and sober, Dana Plato died from a prescription drug overdose, later ruled a suicide. Dana Plato died at 34. The girl who once lived in a scripted world of stability was left to face reality alone, where no one was writing her ending anymore. Dominique Dunne as Dana Freeling. She had just stepped into Hollywood's spotlight. Then at 22, Dominique Dunne was strangled outside her own home, a rising life cut short before it could unfold. Dominique Ellen Dunne was born on November 23, 1959 in Santa Monica, California, into a family already connected to fame. She was only 22 when Poltergeist 1982 introduced her to a global audience. Her childhood was shaped by proximity to storytelling. The daughter of writer Dominique Dunne, she grew up surrounded by Hollywood voices, yet her path into acting felt personal rather than inevitable. Small roles in television gradually built her confidence, each step quiet but deliberate. On screen, she carried a natural stillness. As Dana Freeling, she grounded the chaos of Poltergeist with sincerity and emotional clarity. She didn't demand attention, she held it effortlessly in the spaces between moments. But off-screen, her life had already begun to fracture. In 1982, after ending a turbulent relationship with chef John Thomas Sweeney, she tried to move forward. One night in October, he appeared at her home. After a confrontation, he strangled her unconscious in the driveway. She never regained consciousness. 5 days later, she was removed from life support. The trial that followed deepened the tragedy. Sweeney was convicted of voluntary manslaughter, not murder, and served just over 3 years in prison, a sentence that sparked outrage and left her family shattered. Poltergeist premiered months after her death, her performance preserved as a haunting echo of what might have been. Dominique Dunne never saw her own breakthrough. She died at 22. The girl who helped tell a story about unseen forces became part of one, her absence lingering like something unfinished long after the screen fades to black. Anissa Jones. She was America's sweetest child. Star on television then. At just 18, Anissa Jones was found dead from a drug overdose, her life collapsing the moment the spotlight disappeared. Mary Anissa Jones was born on March 11, 1958 in West Lafayette, Indiana, into an educated middle-class family. She was only 8 when Family Affair 1966 made her one of the most recognizable children in America. Her early life was already unsettled. Her parents divorced before her career began, triggering years of custody battles that fractured her sense of stability. Still, she showed promise early, taking dance lessons at 4, appearing in commercials by 6, and stepping naturally into the rhythm of performance before she could fully understand it. On screen, she became something more than a character. As Buffy Davis, Anissa embodied innocence during a turbulent era. She wasn't acting in the traditional sense, she simply was. Audiences believed her because she hadn't yet learned how not to be herself. But when the show ended in 1971, the illusion shattered. Casting directors saw only Buffy, not Anissa. Rejected from roles that might have reshaped her future, she drifted. After her father's death, her life unraveled further, running away, dropping out of school, slipping into petty crime and drug use. By 18, she gained access to her earnings money, freedom, and no structure. The spiral accelerated. On August 28, 1976, she was found lifeless in her home. The cause, a lethal combination of drugs. One of the most severe overdose cases authorities had ever seen. Anissa Jones died at 18. The child who once brought comfort to millions never learned how to live outside the role she was given, like a light left on too long, then suddenly switched off without warning. Heather O'Rourke. She whispered, "They're here," and became horror's most iconic child. Then, at just 12, Heather O'Rourke died suddenly from a misdiagnosed illness no one saw coming. Heather Michelle O'Rourke was born on December 27, 1975 in San Diego, California. She was only 6 years old when Poltergeist 1982 made her face instantly recognizable across the world. Her discovery felt almost cinematic. Sitting in a studio cafeteria while her older sister auditioned, Heather caught the attention of Steven Spielberg. There was something unforced about her curiosity, without performance, innocence, without effort. Within days, she was cast, stepping into a role she didn't yet understand the weight of. On screen, she wasn't acting fear, she was reacting to it. As Carol Ann Freeling, her voice, her stillness, her wide-eyed presence grounded the supernatural in something human. She became the emotional center of the film, the small voice that made the unimaginable feel real. But off-screen, something quieter was unfolding. During the late 1980s, Heather began experiencing symptoms doctors misdiagnosed as Crohn's disease. In early 1988, her condition worsened rapidly. On February 1st, after collapsing at home, she was rushed into emergency surgery for an undiagnosed congenital intestinal blockage. Complications led to septic shock. She died that same day. She was 12. Poltergeist 3 was released months later, completed with body doubles and careful editing. The film became less a sequel and more a farewell. Heather O'Rourke died before she could grow beyond the child the world remembered. The voice that once called from the television remains frozen in time, forever reaching out as if from a place we can hear, but never reach. If you've made it this far, maybe you can feel it too. Behind the glamour are stories not everyone dares to tell. This series still holds many truths waiting to be uncovered. Lives, tragedies, and secrets Hollywood once tried to hide. Leave a comment below. Which character do you want to hear about next? Which story are you most curious about? At Legends of Classic, we don't just revisit the past, we expose what it tried to hide. Subscribe. Stay curious and be part of the conversation that refuses to look away.